I know I'm a little late to this story, but our big, beefy, wet, sweaty, big dog, Donald Trump, made an ass out of himself the other day telling a fictional story about his uncle teaching Ted Kaczynski in MIT, which, by the way, he did not go to MIT. And if I'm not mistaken, his uncle died in the 80s, and Ted Kaczynski didn't do his thing until like the late 90s, wasn't in school until the 90s, whatever. Anyway, it's crazy talk. This is all crazy talk, folks. Let's take a look and see how crazy I really am. I'm slipping. My mind is slipping slowly into senility, folks.
When I first heard about AI, it's not my thing. Although my uncle was at MIT, one of the great professors.
He was a genius.
51 years, whatever. He was the longest serving professor in the history of MIT.
I love talking about this because if there's one smart person in the family, then we all have to be geniuses. It's called up here, a brain, and many other things.
Degrees in nuclear, chemical, and math. Kaczynski was one.
I had a degree in nuclear. He had a degree in math. Not anything in particular, just math.
Students, do you know who Kaczynski was? There's very little difference between a madman and a genius. But Kaczynski, I said, what kind of a student was he, Uncle John, Dr. John Trump? He said, what kind of a student? And then he said, seriously good. He said he'd go around correcting everybody, but it didn't work out too well for him.
He's saying this at the Pennsylvania Energy and Innovation Summit. CNN's Daniel Dale is here to fact check this story. Daniel, fact or fiction?
It's fiction. This story is imaginary, it's made up, it's a lie, and frankly, Sarah, I didn't take too much research to figure that out. So
No
how
shit.
do we know this story could not even possibly be true? Well, first of all, the president's late uncle, the esteemed MIT professor John Trump, died in 1985. The Unabomber was not revealed to be Ted Kaczynski until 1996, the year he was arrested, more than a decade later. So there is frankly no reason why Donald Trump would be asking anyone about Ted Kaczynski in 1985 or earlier, when Ted Kaczynski was living this reclusive life in a Montana wilderness cabin. Number two, that's the case even if Kaczynski had been one of his uncle's students, which he wasn't. John Trump taught at MIT for decades. Kaczynski went to Harvard and the University of Michigan. I reached out to
One way or the other, he taught him. Trust me, I know I had a conversation in my mind, in my brains. I am a very stable genius, and he told me, and I'm telling you. Actually, it's all fake news. He didn't go to Harvard. He absolutely went to MIT. But this all kind of similar, isn't it? It's the same town. Come on, it's Boston. What are you going to do?
about this. They said they have no record, no information suggesting that Kaczynski ever attended MIT. And that big stuff is not the only stuff inaccurate about this story. It's also not true that John Trump was the longest serving MIT professor ever. He was there for decades. He was a renowned guy, but the school says not the longest serving. And number two, his degrees were not in nuclear, chemical, and math. He did have 3 degrees. 2 were in electrical engineering. That's what he was a professor of. The other was in physics. So look, this, I think, is small potatoes compared to...
It's nuclear, goddammit. It's a degree in nuclear. I saw the paperwork. I keep it right next to the toilet in my bathroom in Mar-a-Lago, right underneath the Obama files.
Other stuff this president lies about on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, from the economy to the war in Ukraine to his record. But when the president of the United States is just flat making up a colorful story, I think it's important to point that out.
Yes, and you do it so well, Daniel Dale. Thank you so much. Really appreciate your reporting.
Anyway, I just thought that was a cute story to talk about. Donald Trump, you know how... look, I am not here to defend Joe Biden. Joe Biden was slipping before he was elected. And it didn't really seem to matter because Donald Trump fucked up COVID so goddamn bad. The American public would have voted for a ham sandwich to unseat him and get him out of the office. That's how bad he fucked up COVID. It was epic. And when all the criticism came in about Joe Biden towards the end of his presidency, I was kind of laughing about it. It was like, y'all saw him during the primary in 2019 when he was on the debate stage with Kamala Harris, Bernie Sanders, and all the rest of them, and he could barely string two sentences together. So Joe Biden was definitely not all there at the end, at least the last 4 years. And, we haven't heard hide nor hair of him because, he's going gentle into that good night. But Donald Trump, to pretend like Donald Trump, his brains and his faculties are all there, that's just cope, y'all. Donald Trump, look, aside from being the most prolific liar that we have ever had, as not just the president, but any representative, it's astounding. 30,000 lies in his first term. 30,000 confirmed lies. It makes sense. The guy tells at least a couple of dozen every single day. Every time he's on camera, he just lies as, like he breathes. So this right here, this little story about his great uncle John Trump, degrees in nuclear. It's just a Tuesday, it's just a fucking Tuesday. He will always lie. But I just thought that was pretty interesting. It's such an easily provable lie, and the date discrepancy and all that is very amusing. But, he's in a room full of people, and he's also the leader of the free world, the most powerful man on the planet, even though, he could barely, lift up one hand to feed himself, shove a fucking McDonald's, not, what do they call that? He calls it a McFish. I love a good McFish. One-handing a McFish right down my pie hole. But he's not just a prolific liar. He's also not smart. And also he's old, man. He's getting to be an ancient motherfucker. And his brains just don't work right. It's just a different kind of thing. Joe Biden was obviously, just trailing off into the, never mind. Listen here, Jack. You want to do some push-ups? But Donald Trump, whether he's talking about Arnold Palmer's dick, or he's talking about sharks and, boats with electric motors, afraid to get electrocuted in the ocean, or Hannibal Lecter being a hell of a guy, the late, great Hannibal Lecter. He was tremendous. He came over, he had a friend over for dinner, folks, and it wasn't McDonald's, let me tell you that. Anyway, the world is fucked, man, and everything is so goddamn depressing, but, at least every once in a while, we get to laugh at something. So anyway, I just felt like showing you that just for some chuckles. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed what you saw, please like and subscribe. Keep rocking.